Our dog tucks his paws under the rug, always. Did you notice it?
Yes.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and like Mel Robbins says,
I believe that how you start your day dictates how the day goes.
And that's why I create these videos to help you start and end your day productively.
And there she is.
Hi! What's up?
Need motivation?
You better watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like na 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 na. For my top 10, top 10, na 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 na. This one's for my top 10.
I have this habit of every single morning, I stand in front of the mirror and I take a moment and I raise my hand and I give my reflection a high five. And there is so much science behind this. So instead of seeing yourself, right, and having this moment in the mirror, you know what the average person does? First of all, we beat ourselves down. So I would look in the mirror for 40 some years and be like, oh my God, my freaking jowls look like saddlebags on a goddamn horse going in the Grand Canyon. My eyes have my neck is only striped, my one boob's hanging lower than the other. I look like my gray hair. Like I start bringing myself down. And when you start going down that road with your reflection, then your thoughts go to, I didn't get to that email. I forgot to text Lisa back. Oh my gosh, the dog still needs to be walked. I've got 9 minutes for my first Zoom call. You're now checking out. And that moment in the mirror every morning could be a profound moment where you lift yourself up and you check back in with your intention. So the first piece of research, and this is recent from Harvard Business School, is that a simple moment in the morning where you set an intention about who you're going to be today impacts productivity, how you show up as a leader. It impacts your confidence. It impacts your mood all day long. Just that simple moment of setting an intention. So that's research number one. Instead of standing in front of the sink in your bathroom and criticizing your appearance or mindlessly going on autopilot, check back in and let's teach you to make it a habit to lift yourself back up. Second piece of research, and this comes from a whole field of study called neurobics. Neurobics is like aerobics for your mind. I didn't make this up. This is literally, you can speed up the development of new neural pathways by marrying physical activity with a change in thought. And so traditionally, I know you've covered this on your show, if you, for example, were to brush your teeth, I'm a right-hander, if you were to brush it with your other hand and think a new thought, the fact that your brain is focusing on brushing with your non-dominant hand activates more focus on the new thought. It accelerates the learning. So you take neurobics, a physical activity with a different thought, and let's talk about a high five, for example. What does a high five mean to you?
That somebody did something awesome or I did something awesome.
Correct. And if you think about the times in your life when you've gotten a high five, it's because somebody's like, Tom, you're amazing. Tom, get your attitude out of the can. You got this. Tom, you're going to make this shot. Tom, we can still win. I believe in you. Keep going. You have a lifetime positive association with giving other people high fives stored right here in your subconscious mind. When you raise your hand to your own reflection, it is impossible for you to think, God, I look fat. Boy, am I an asshole. I really screwed up my life. You can't do it because your lifetime association with this motion is all, I believe in you, I got you, I see you, I celebrate you. And so you, in the moment of doing it, override decades of negative self-talk. It's incredible. Now, have you ever gotten a high five where somebody misses the hand or it's sort of like, it sucks, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, what do you do when that happens?
I redo it.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's because a high five requires you to be present and there is an intention behind it. So you can't raise your hand to your own reflection without now grounding yourself in the moment.
Rule number 2, find your power.
I don't believe in toxic positivity. I don't believe that you just put a positive spin on things and things will disappear and be fine. That's not how the world works. There are very real challenges that you may be facing. You may be facing abuse, violence. You may be up against structural and systematic racism and bias and discrimination. You may be facing extreme poverty. You may be facing all kinds of very real and traumatic things in your life. Simply putting a positive spin on things will not change those very real obstacles. What it changes is you. When you change how you look at things, it changes your ability to deal with the things in your life. It changes your ability to face hard things. And it gives you the courage and the confidence and the resilience and the stamina to chip away at these large obstacles or these past experiences that created trauma or negative self-talk. It's going to give you the ability to take the action that you need. And so when you hear me talk about mindset, I want you to understand this doesn't make things disappear. It actually empowers you to be your greatest self, to face the stuff that's very difficult. Because confidence, courage, resilience, these are all things that are inside you. And you don't build this stuff in the high moments. You build your confidence and your courage and your resilience in the low moments. It's like steel. It's forged in the fire of your life. And so even in those moments where you feel like life is punching you in the face and you just want to give up and you have that I can't handle this anymore and why does this keep happening to me? I am telling you, do not give up because you are building your inner strength every step of the way through these experiences that you're facing in your life. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying you deserve it. I'm saying you have the power within you to face whatever you're dealing with, to find your strength, and to actually change yourself and the situation and the trajectory that you're on for the better.
Rule number 3, look forward.
There is no fast track to transformation. You have to work on it in little ways every day. You can't buy self-esteem or self-love. You must build it. You must stand face to face with the part of you that you hate. You must forgive yourself for the hurt that you've caused, especially the hurt you've caused to yourself. And then you got to do the work to become a better you. It's the only way to create the self-respect and build the self-esteem that you want. You can change. There are do-overs in life because you get one every single morning when you wake up, look in the mirror, and decide who you're going to be today. You can choose. You can change. No, you can't go back in time, but you can have your own back as you use the time that you have now to take control and create a new chapter that makes you proud of who you are. The hardest part of all this is flipping your focus from what you hate and are trying to fix toward what you want to create. Remember, the windshield in a car is bigger than the rear view mirror for good reason. You're not supposed to go backwards. You're supposed to drive your life forward, and that means you must start looking ahead. Yeah, you've screwed up, me too. The worst things that you've done, witnessed, or survived, they are your most powerful teachers. So stop making yourself wrong about what happened and unpack it. Understand it. Face yourself in the mirror and learn the lessons that are woven into every mistake, every regret you ever have, and every painful thing you've ever experienced. Here's the profound insight I gained that I want you to hear. You aren't broken. You're just blocked. Forgive yourself for all the things you did while you were just trying to survive.
Rule number 4, cheer for yourself.
The Dallas Uber driver.
Oh,
So as somebody who has gotten into countless Ubers, and some small percentage of them know who I am, and then of course they start asking questions. Talk to me about chasing your dreams and this quote that you have that an aha moment does not necessarily lead to an aha life.
Yeah, the Uber driver in Dallas that's in this book. I get choked up when I think about him. An aha moment.
Why choked up?
I get choked up because what happens for me every single day is, and you hear from people every single day, you've got millions and millions of people that are inspired by, empowered by, impacted by your content. There are people out there that use your work as a lifeline, and it is humbling. And what I am really present to in the work that I'm putting out, in the stuff that I'm sharing, whether it's my failures or the things that I'm using that are helping me in my own struggles, is just how much people are holding themselves back and how much pain people feel. Because most folks know what they dream about and what they want. And yet they're spending all of their time and energy arguing against what they want. And so you can have all these epiphanies. I hope that when somebody listens to our conversation and watches this, that they have a massive aha moment. But it's not going to mean if you don't take action and do something about it. The aha moment is the door that opens. But your new life does not begin unless you step through the door. And most people, and that's what was so kind of, the simple idea of high-fiving yourself, of encouraging yourself, of supporting yourself. Most people, when you have an aha moment and the door to your new life opens up, instead of going, I got this, let's go, and high-fiving yourself to step forward, most of us go, I don't know if I'm worth it. I don't know if right now is the right time to do this. I don't think I'm good enough. I've failed so many times, I can't go through that door. And that's the problem I want to attack right now. That there is somewhere in your life that you know what you want. You can feel it pulling you. And you are actively arguing against it. You're bringing yourself down. You're beating yourself out. Like, people will cheer for you and me. They won't cheer for themselves. I'm the same way. And so this Uber driver, the story that you're talking about, I get into the car and we start driving, and I'm on the phone as we're driving, and I'm having a conversation with somebody about this daytime talk show that I launched, which was a dream with Sony Pictures Television, and then was promptly fired after season 1. It was a huge failure because we didn't make it to season 2. Huge failure in real world terms. Right. Massive success when it comes to the timeline of my life. And so I'm talking to this person about the talk show. I hang up the phone and this Uber driver comes alive. He's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're in my cab. And I'm like, why? And he says, because I want to talk to you about something. I think you can help me. And I'm like, great, how can I help you? And he says, I have a dream of being a Oscar-winning actor and creating opportunities for other Black and Latino men to do the same in acting. And I'm like, freaking fantastic. What the are you doing in Dallas? Right? The guy's 25. And so I go, the game is in New York and LA. I mean, sure, you can act, you can write stuff, you can be here in Dallas, but why are you not in LA? Why are you not in New York? And he's like, you're right. I need to move to LA. I'm like, why not? And he says, I have $700 in my bank account. And I'm like, that's freaking fantastic. You have $700 in a car? Dude, drop me off and get driving. What are you waiting for? And so we have this whole conversation, and I write about it in this book, where I am actively arguing for his dream, and he is actively arguing against his dream. And what is so sad is throughout this conversation, Tom, he's like, you're right. $700 could get me there. You're right. I am only 25. You're right. If I keep thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking about what I want to be doing, I'm not only going to drive in circles, my whole life is going to spin in circles as I think about what I want and I don't do shit about it. And then you are going to find yourself not at 25, but at 45 or 65, and you're going to be so filled with regret that you never put a bet on yourself. And so this conversation ends with him declaring that he's going to go to California and me giving him a bunch of tools that I talk about in this book. And the point of the story is, does he move or not? I don't know. The point of the story is, it's so easy to see what somebody else should do. It's so easy to cheer for somebody else. We all do that, right? We cheer for our favorite sports teams. We follow our favorite influencers and authors. We plan birthday parties for our friends. We take on extra work from our colleagues. We support everyone around us. We do not know how to do it for ourselves.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Rule number 5, listen and validate.
There are 4 techniques that I use whenever I'm going to have a difficult conversation that help me stay focused on what I need to talk about instead of getting hijacked by my emotions. Number 1, I always start the conversation by acknowledging my responsibility in the mess that we have to talk about. Whether it's the fact that I've avoided dealing with this sooner or whether there's something that I've done that's contributed to the situation, I acknowledge it right up front. And one of the reasons why that's so important is because by accepting some responsibility, you're diffusing the other person's emotion. You're also honoring them a little bit, and it sets a much more level playing field for when you get into the difficult things that you need to talk about. It's also going to put the person that you're speaking to a little at ease, so they're going to be able to listen. Number 2, you want to have a goal. Never go into a difficult conversation without an outcome defined before you go into it. The reason why the outcome is so important is because this conversation is going to be a roller coaster. The person that you're talking to might get upset. You yourself might feel emotional at some point, whether you're angry or you're triggered or you get sad. And so when you ride the roller coaster of emotion, the thing that is going to stabilize your thoughts is the outcome that you're causing. You're having this conversation because you're committed to making the relationship better. You're having this conversation because this isn't working, and so we need to end it powerfully. You're having this conversation because you want to give somebody some feedback that's not so fun to tell them, but you're giving it to them because you're committed to their success. Okay? So that goal, you feel yourself getting emotional, you come back to it, you come back to it, you come back to it. Third thing you're going to do a lot in this conversation, you're going to listen and you're going to validate. So you're going to say what you need to say, and then the other person's going to react. And instead of arguing or debating, I want you to listen and I want you to validate what the person is saying. It may sound counterintuitive, but honestly, one of the most powerful things you can do in any conversation, whether you're fighting with your kids over curfew or you're arguing with somebody at work over workloads, whatever it may be, is hear where the person's at. The moment you say, wow, that must be really tough, what you're dealing with, or, oh, I totally get why you now were avoiding me. If I felt the way that you felt, I'd probably do the same thing. The second you validate somebody, they immediately stop defending themselves. It's unbelievable, actually. Unbelievable. You've got to try it. Validate, validate, validate. It is the most powerful thing. And then once, of course, they feel validated that you've heard them, now they can listen. And that's when you come back to the final thing, which is you're going to restate always the outcome. Keep coming back to it. Keep coming back to it. And yeah, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have all kinds of emotions come up because you've been avoiding this conversation. But I'm telling you right now, if you find the confidence and the courage to go and to start this thing, acknowledge your responsibility, have an outcome in mind, validate the other person, validate, 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 and keep talking till you hit that outcome, you're going to be really, really amazed at how much easier these things become. And if you want to make it even easier on yourself, rehearse it with another friend first, somebody that's not involved in the situation. Because again, difficult conversations comes down to one important thing: the ability for you to separate your emotion about doing it from the things you actually need to talk about and the outcome that you want to cause.
Rule number 6, pursue your dreams.
Let's start with a metaphor. I want you to think about your life like a book. A book is divided into chapters. Some chapters are boring and a grind to get through, and others are exciting and you hope they never end. And right now, you're in a chapter. Maybe this chapter of your life is a grind. It's overwhelming and unsatisfying, and you feel stuck reading it over and over again. Maybe you want to start a new chapter, but you don't know what the next chapter is about, and so you keep rereading the one you're currently in. Here's the greatest thing about life. You don't have to know where this next chapter is going. You just have to start writing it. I want you to envision a blank page. What do you want to write? What do you see for yourself? I don't want you to try to figure out what job or business you should write on that page. What belongs on that page are the dreams that you have for yourself and your life. And all that's required to start writing is to start saying yes instead of telling yourself no. Yes, you should start that podcast. Yes, you should go back to school. Yes, you should try to launch that business. Whatever it is that you've been doing, whether you're 3 years out of college and it's a job you can't stand from a major you hate, or it's a 20-year career that you're just burnt out on, or maybe you stepped away from the workforce to raise your kids, or perhaps like so many people right now, you've been laid off. This is the moment to write your next chapter. You're not too late. You're right on time. All you need is a blank page and a pen.
Rule number 7, build discipline.
One of the things that I think you should always come back to first is take a look at how you set your day up, because how you set it up is how it ends up. How do I set my day up so that I'm practicing what I call simple discipline? Simple discipline is nothing more than making and keeping simple promises to yourself, repeating it every day. The way that you start to change the big things is you change the small things. Make tiny, teeny promises to yourself and then keep them. So how do you build simple discipline? Here are some core skills that I do every morning that have helped me. Number 1, I do not sleep with the phone. Number 2, when the alarm goes off on my phone, it's not near me, so I have to get my ass out of bed. I get up, I make my bed, I get moving, I get my exercise clothes on, I move my body, I then journal. I take 10 minutes to myself to plan my day. When I do that, my day is incredible. I believe that how you start your day dictates how the day goes. You should not just adopt somebody else's morning routine and expect it to work for you. You need to customize this. You are unique. I think about, how do you come alive for yourself in the morning? What are the 5 senses? What's the first thing that you see when you wake up? For me, it's a painting that I manifested out of thin air. It reminds me that what you put your mind to and what you work toward, it will become a reality. I always light incense because it makes my senses and my nose come alive. I'm super mindful over what I taste first thing in the morning. My grandma always had vinegar in the morning with honey and hot water. I picked the one thing that matters to me today.
Rule number 8, face the challenges.
One of the biggest objections that people had to standing in front of the mirror, take a moment, look at yourself, and then raise your hand, is people said over and over and over again, I haven't done anything worthy of high-fiving. High-fiving feels like a celebration. I don't have the number on the scale that I want. I don't like my bank account. I don't enjoy what I do for a living. I've made a load of mistakes. I'm struggling with trauma. I don't have anything to celebrate. And what I realized is people are making a fundamental mistake. You are withholding the very support, empowerment, and celebration that you need to change and to do the hard work and to face the things that you're scared of. And that's why you're not changing.
Rule number 9, be willing to try.
I think that confidence is the willingness to try. See, I anchor confidence in action because I don't believe that belief in self is the thing that makes people act confidently. I believe that when you are willing to try, even though you doubt yourself, that the act of trying and seeing yourself move through your doubts and your fears and your procrastination and your perfectionism, the act of moving through it is what starts to build belief in self. So I define confidence as the willingness to try. Arrogance is believing you're better than anybody else. And I think confidence is this quiet knowing that you can rely on yourself. Even the most confident people, so people that rely on themselves and people that are willing to try and take risks, hit periods where they really doubt themselves and they don't feel confident in their decision making and their actions. And so I think it's a skill that comes and goes, and that you'll always be working on it, because the whole point about life is to grow. And as you grow, you're going to face new challenges. And whenever you face a new challenge, it's going to, bring up fears and doubt. And that's why you're going to need to work on the skill of confidence, which is the willingness to try. That's where it begins.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is stick with the facts.
I am making cabbage farro soup. It sounds disgusting. It is delicious. It is from my absolute favorite cookbook, 6 Seasons by Joshua McFadden. But that's not why I made this video. I made this video because I want to share a recipe for relieving pain, tension, frustration, and hurt in your life. Every day, all kinds of stuff happens to you, right? Some good, some bad, some frustrating, some things that are amazing. And for everything that happens to you, there are 3 versions of what happens. There's your version and the story that you tell yourself about what happened. There's a second version, which is the version that the other person that's involved in the story tells themselves about what happened. And then there's the truth. And the truth is just the facts. No story, no explanation. It's just what's so. So I'm going to give you a quick example. So I'm sitting here cooking, and I've got a lot I got to clean up. I got stuff all over the counter. I've been working on some architectural plans over there. I got to clean that up. So I'm starting to clean up, and I come over here to the sink, and I notice someone that I love's egg dish is right there. Now, I'm not going to out them. I'm also going to not out the fact that part of the breakfast that they were creating for themselves, which involved sweet potato and making some eggs, is still out, and that said person is nowhere to be found. So let's talk about the 3 versions of this story. Version number 1 is my version, which goes a little something like, why does my family believe that I am the maid? This is being done to me. How rude. They expect me to do this, like on and on and on. You can see that story about the fact that there is an egg dish here and there are knives that need to be cleaned. That story I'm telling myself gets me really jacked up and angry and frustrated and feeling used and annoyed. And of course, when your mood switches, it can hijack your whole day. Now, version number 2 would probably be, holy cow, I'm coming back later. Of course you don't need to clean it up. I'm just in an online jam session working on a song I have to record for my class. And in fact, if we're quiet, we can hear her. Rose in your eyes. Now here's the cool part. You don't have to tell yourself a story. You can just see something and not make it mean anything at all. And in fact, here she comes. She's done doing her thing and she's coming back in to clean up. I torture myself and you torture yourself for no good reason. So check your story, stick with the facts, and I think you'll find that life is a lot less stressful and frustrating.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy, but before that, it's time for the good deed of the day. This is something new. I believe that you're built to serve, and it feels so good to do something nice for somebody else. So good deed of the day, put down in the comments one thing that you need help with, that you're working on, that you'd love some support or guidance on, and then 2, go comment on somebody else's comment and give them some love, give them some support, give them some encouragement, maybe give them some connections, try to help them solve that problem, even if it's saying, I believe in you. That one little bit of encouragement can be the difference between somebody quitting and continuing on. So the good deed of the day, in the comments below, write down one thing that you need help on, that you're struggling with, that you're working on. And then part 2 is go give love to somebody else in the comments too, and let them know that you believe in them as well.
Anyone that's going through some really confronting stuff in their personal life, that's me right now. Don't really feel ready to discuss any of the details, but it is a very challenging moment right now for me. And the waves of emotion, all of them are coming and going right now in my life. And I want to share something that I am finding helpful as I move through this really tough moment in time. I remind myself that these feelings are temporary, number one, and that helps me find strength in knowing that I'm going to learn something in this moment. I'm going to ride through this pain, and I'm going to come out stronger, and I won't always feel like that, like I do right now. The second thing is I try not to attach myself to the waves that are coming of sadness and anger and fear and frustration and just all of it. And by that, I mean I let the wave of emotion come into my body. I try not to hold on to it, grip it, attach it. I feel what I need to feel, and I breathe it out. That's number 2. And number 3, a lot of journaling. A lot of journaling. Just pouring out everything I'm feeling as a way to excavate it responsibly. Anyway, I wanted to make this video because I know you're probably going through something. I know you're probably experiencing waves of emotion, frustration, sadness, anger, joy, whatever it may be. You're human. This is a human experience to feel emotional waves. And so remind yourself, whether it's a high or a low, it's temporary. You can get through this. Breathe through the wave. Don't attach yourself to it and let it knock you over. And 3, just dump everything you're feeling out into a journal instead of at other people. And that will help you process the emotions you need to process because you don't want to shove them down. It will help you get clear about where you want to go next and what you're meant to learn in this moment. And it will help you move through it with grace, with strength, with resilience. So in the TED Talk, I cited this statistic that I had read years ago, and that is that a scientist had calculated the odds of you and me being born. And when you think about just even the sexual act of your parents in a lifetime relationship, the number of times they would actually be intimate, the amount of sperm that go, the odds of one egg and one sperm, and then you throw in the DNA and the uniqueness of your DNA structure. Some scientists calculated all of those odds and figured out that the odds of you being you, who you are, born the day that you were born, to the parents that you have, with the DNA structure that you have, given all the other variables that could have changed something, the odds are 1 in 400 trillion that you are you. And so what that means to me is that you're meant to be here, that there is a reason why you were born, and the journey of your life is to figure it out. And I think it's actually simple. I think that life is very simple, and we complicate it because we have brains that can tell stories, and we have bodies that can sense danger. And so we overcomplicate things. And the purpose of your life is to listen to your heart and soul and to follow it and to express the highest version of you, not the self-doubt, not the anxiety, not the fears, not the pettiness, not the frustrations, but to actually have the courage to be fully expressed as like, it sounds stupid, but as a great human being, to have the courage to be kind, to have the courage to be patient, to have the courage to cheer for other people, and to have the courage to tune into that wisdom that's inside of you and lean into it. Follow the things that pique your curiosity. Do more of the that actually expands your heart and expands the amount of energy in your body. And slowly but surely, if you align all your decisions and the things that you spend time on and the people that you spend time on with the things that naturally energize you, your whole life will experience a shift. I've always wanted a six-pack and I don't have it. And I don't know, and I've never had it. And when I finally stopped complaining about it when I got honest about what it was going to require. Oh, I'm dead serious about this. At at 49, with my affinity for alcohol and my love of carbs and my distaste for exercise, I have a small problem on my hands if I want a six-pack. So if you were to go forward, right, and think, okay, well, if a year from now I had a six-pack, what would my day-to-day life look like? Ooh. And you can get very clear that you're not committed to that. And then you can stop beating yourself up for the you never intend on doing. What I realized is I can spend 4 minutes a day in a hotel room or in my bedroom doing planks, and my arms look great, and everybody else will think the rest of my body's in shape. And we're good. We're good. Yes. It worked like a charm. So you might want to get honest with yourself. Like, instead of doing this I want to be a millionaire, I want to do this. Do you really? Because you can make it happen. You actually can. Look at all the idiots that are making money. You can make money. But you're going to have to roll the clock forward just a year and say, okay, if I'm able to put $1,000 a month against my debt, I'm able to make X amount of dollars a month, I'm able to put X amount of dollars in savings. What do I need to be doing a year from now to make that happen? And what are those habits that are there a year from now that I don't have right now? And then roll yourself back to this moment, just like I explained with exercise. Do I actually not want to have a Manhattan tonight? Nope. Did I want to go to the gym today? Nope. Am I willing to not eat what I ate for breakfast? Nope. Am I willing? I did my 4 minutes. My arms are looking really good. But so bring it back, and then you will have the formula for pivoting at any moment. You time travel forward a year. You investigate the patterns that you have that are giving you the result that you want, and then you back your ass up to right here, right now. And you decide, am I willing to do this now? If I'm willing, then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 through all the excuses that are going to be there when you're trying to override your operating system. That's how you do it. Or you have the reality check like I had, which is, oh, I just like to I don't intend on changing, so why don't we get this off the plate? And let's focus on the things that I am actually committed to.
Where do you find that shift of like, I need to get off of this because I'll be spending time with like my fiance or with my family. It pops into my head, oh my gosh, I need to text this person. I forgot I needed to call and get this order fixed. How do you find that shift to just say, you know what, I'm spending time with my family and I'll do it tomorrow, but not like in a procrastinating way?
It's an excellent question. I think if you're present to whether or not you're kind of in the zone of time where it's cool to be fluid, you're kind of with the family, you're also sort of present on your phone, that's cool. If you've decided that because my kids are starting to complain, or my fiance's starting to complain that I'm always like this, then you got to honor that if you're going to say, I'm putting down the phone between 7 and 9 o'clock tonight, and I'm actually just going to be present with you, you've got to honor it. So what I will do is I'll just jot a note to myself. So instead of picking up the phone, I'll just jot a note down. And you've had the experience, right, where you got to like be at a meeting at the school, or you have to catch a plane, or you've got a doctor's appointment. And have you ever noticed that when you've got an anchor like that, your whole day condenses and you're more productive because you've got this deadline? And that's called Parkinson's law. So Parkinson's law, it's a research-backed fact that when you have work to do, it will expand to the amount of time that you have to do it in. So if you have 20 minutes to make a call, how long will it take you? If you have 2 weeks to make it, how long will it take you? 2 weeks. Correct. So if you every day no phone in your room. You set that one priority that matters to you. If you got time to kind of inch it forward just a little bit, great. You've already made progress. You're done for the day. Then you look at your phone. You also set a quitting time right then and there. The majority of days you'll honor it. And that quitting time means, for me, it means I'm not on my phone. And everybody that works for me knows if there's an emergency or if we have to do something, they'll call me. So that helps a lot. If you had to pick one word that was you, one word that represented your essence. And so let me explain what I mean by essence. Have you ever been around a dog that gets wet and they shake and then their gets all over you? That to me is the definition of essence. So you walk into a room, what is it that shakes off onto other people? What's the word right here? Excited. Anyone else? Determined. Kind. Energy. Back in the back. Just shout it out. Thoughtful. Love. Sexy. Awesome. So it was interesting because the word that fell out, because I immediately thought, oh, I wonder if mine is confidence. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. Actually, no, it's try. All I want you to ever do is try. That's it. I just want you to try. In those moments where you hear yourself, I want you to try. In those moments where you know that it's time to speak up, I want you to try. That's all that I ever ask of you, because if you simply do that, and I say simply as if it's so easy, right? You will literally unlock the potential of your life. Here's another massive insight. So I always think about business as levels, right? And I also realize that as the media landscape or the particular vertical or industry that you're building a business in is changing, that is a constant, and it's something that you can't control, right? You just cannot control the things that are happening in the world around us, but you can always control what you're thinking and what you're doing in response to it. So all of my work centers inside this gap between what's happening in your life and in your work and what your reaction is to it, and how you can't control the things that are going on around you, but you can always control what your reaction is. And that gap there, that's about 5 seconds long. And you start to understand that you can change how you think, you can change your habits, you can change how you lead, you can pivot and change even the philosophy of your company. And you can do it through the decisions that you're making and managing your reactions. You will become unstoppable. So 3.5 years ago, I got into the speaking business because of the popularity of that TEDx talk that I gave. And that first year I did, I think it was like 27 speeches. The next year I did 87. Last year I did 121. I was the most booked female speaker in the world. This year I've capped it at 80, and here's why. I realized, just like you may be realizing in your business, whatever your business is, that there are aspects of your business that you love and that energize you, and there are aspects of your business that are depleting as hell and that are old and that are tired, and that if you continue in that lane, you're going to end up 10 years from now in a place that you don't want to be. It's so important for you to pay attention to what's energizing you about the landscape around you and about your own business, because that's the secret to seeing around corners. And so the corner that I was seeing around is that as an entrepreneur, even though it's wildly lucrative to do what I do just on the speaking platform, I mean, anybody can do the math on 121 speeches, right? And the amount of money that I get paid to show up and deliver a 1-hour talk, and realize there's a lot of money. Here's the problem. It's a terrible business because you can't scale it other than raising your price or raising the number of times you do it. And guess what else? You have to show up. And I can't sell it. So I found myself in a situation where I had built a multi-million-dollar business, highly profitable, and it was depleting the hell out of me, and I can't really scale it, and I can't sell it. Terrible position to be in an entrepreneur. So I made a decision that what was it, Bo, that actually energizes me about my business? And I answered it with the first question. It's hearing from people. I would rather answer comments on Instagram all day long than stand in a stadium with 5,000 people in it. I get more from the one-to-one connection. That's what fuels me. And so I had this light bulb moment, paying attention, being clear, that wait a minute, I don't want to build the biggest speaking platform, and I don't want to build a coaching business. I want to build a content company. I want to go back to my roots and build a media company. And so with that insight, I now have to change, right? Because the kind of businesswoman that runs a multi-million dollar speaking business where it's just you and your speaking management firm and your travel folks and your logistics people and maybe your social media manager. That's who's on the team. The kind of leader that runs that kind of team is very different than the kind of leader that is going to grow a $100 million media company, that's going to syndicate content every single day, that is going to own what she's doing, that's going to build Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn as my personal ABC, CNBC, Fox. And this is what I want you to understand about the story. And that is this: in order to get to the next level in your business, you got to decide right now, what habits do you have as a leader that you have to change now? Because you will not see around the corner. You will not engineer that next quantum leap unless you personally change. And so one of the reasons why I've gone from being the most successful female, book speaker on the speaking circuit to launching the #1 book on all of the self-publishing platform for Amazon, and one of the most read books in the world, and selling like gangbusters still, is because I am constantly innovating myself. I know that I am the single biggest problem in my company. And if I don't constantly pivot and evolve how I lead and what I'm focused on, I'm going to be the blockade. And so, stop looking at what everybody else is doing, stop micromanaging the team, and ask yourself, 2 years from now, when you think about where you want your company to be, what habit do you have to change right now?
Do you think it's a fear of being uncomfortable or failure that's really like the barrier for people to...
The barrier is everybody gives a what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
And so they're on camera or they're on a microphone trying to be smart or concerned about whether or not they look good in the shot. Concerned about how they sound, whether or not they stuttered, if their neck is turning red, like whatever it may be. And they're so up here that they're not actually being true to just saying what's right here.
Absolutely.
Whether you're speaking from the heart, speaking from the gut, like that is the skill to develop, is the ability to be more like an 11-year-old that gets on camera and can just be themselves instead of being a 49-year-old person censoring themselves.
Got it.
And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about the truth, when I talk about authenticity, that people really want to feel that connection. And the only way that they're going to feel that connection is if you do the work to remove the own veneer and the own barriers that you put in between you and other people. And the #1 thing is everybody gives too much about what everybody else thinks.
Absolutely.
And you know who they think they're worried the most about? Their friends. If I put this thing up, not for my friends, but for the people that I'm trying to build a rapport with online, my friends are going to judge me. Your friends. Seriously. If you're out to make a difference, if you're out to share something that is important to you, if your friends don't like it or don't support you, they're really not your friends.
You recommend people
The only step that really works is action. Because if you're stopping to think about what people are thinking or whether or not you're worried about what people are thinking, you've already fallen into the trap. The second that you push yourself to get started through the action itself, you are proving to yourself that even though you care what everybody thinks, you're gonna do it anyway. A big mistake that we make as entrepreneurs is we think that we've got to build everything ourselves. And what's super cool about business today is that there are channels where you can make money so that you don't have to do things that are outside your core expertise. You're a photographer. You're amazing at it. You're a networker. I can already tell. You're amazing at it. What you should never, ever do is spend time building a stock photography site. because that is not your core capability.
Okay.
But if you just focus on taking photos, which you love, and you upload the stuff that you're not going to monetize some other way to a stock photography site, as long as it's not other, it's not, as long as, you've got the rights to it and everything else, you can make money on that stuff all day long. And in fact, because so many people are creating content, the stock photography sites have exploded. It's not just Getty and Stocklist and some of the other ones that a ton of people use. There are tons of them out there. And so that's one thing that you should be doing.
Okay.
Where else do you want to grow your business?
I want to make sure I'm able to do that first step very well before I progress on to the next phase.
Okay.
I don't want to do so many different things that I'm not doing each one of them very well.
That's right. So anything where you're going to have to learn a new skill and somebody else has done it and you can outsource it, just like uploading to stock sites, that is, you don't want to make the mistake of having your attention go off the ball, which is creating a big library of photos and building something that you have no interest in building. A year ago, February 28th, I believe it was, we launched the 5-Second Rule book. And there are so many lessons in not only the launch of that book and how I did it as a businesswoman, but also the trajectory that has happened since then. Number one, it's important for you to know that it was one of the top 5 most read books on Amazon last year. It was the #1 audiobook in the world. It is the #1 selling title on Amazon and Audible's self-publishing Audible platform. That's really cool because as an entrepreneur, for me personally, it's so important for me to have control of the work that I'm doing. That decision to self-publish has paid off more than it's paid off financially. And it certainly will pay you more in the long tail financially when you own your work and when you self-publish. And if you have an idea that you have been thinking about and you're watching Bo's show and you're watching Evan's channel to get the motivation to continue to tell your story, to do the work, to get your stuff out there, the one thing I'll say is if you believe in what you're doing, don't sell it to somebody. Self-publish it, because you will eventually, it might not happen in the first year, but eventually your work will bump into the right audience and it will grow and it will grow, and you will really regret having sold for pennies on the dollar the thing that was really your life's work. And so please, 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 if you're a content generator, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a writer, if you're a song producer, own what you're doing, at least in the beginning, until you start to understand the industry and the economics of things. So a couple things. So if you're trying to stop yourself from repeating a pattern of behavior, let's use drinking, okay? If you're trying to use it to stop yourself from drinking, and you feel yourself being drawn to go pour the glass of wine because it's 6 o'clock, right? And you got home, and it's time to have that glass of wine. And by the way, time of day is a huge trigger for behaviors, huge trigger. So you feel yourself being drawn toward the glass of wine, go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and physically move away from it. So that's one thing that you can do. In terms of the thoughts, and we go into this in depth in the 5-Second Rule book, there's some science around something called if-then planning. So if-then planning will make you 60% more likely to stick to a commitment. And what if-then planning is it is coming up with a plan B before the you-know-what hits the fan. And so in the case of thinking patterns that are negative, or behavior patterns like pleasing people or silencing yourself, what I want you to do is, it can be very effective to write down all the times where you're typically triggered to do that or to think that negative thing, then come up with what you're going to do instead ahead of time. If this person uses that tone of voice with me and speaks in a disrespectful way, instead of standing here and taking it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then I'm going to do this.
I am a productivity consultant. I've had a challenge with people. They know what they need to do, and this is my challenge as well. I know what I need to do. I know what needs to be done.
Right.
But getting that motivation and getting over that ledge and that 5-second rule, my goodness, changed my life. I haven't quite made it to not hitting snooze yet.
Okay. Why?
Oh, because my bed feels so comfy in the morning.
Let me tell you something.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Your business will go to the next level the second you actually beat the habit of hitting the snooze.
Yes.
And the reason why is because of the science around productivity and the brain.
Okay.
And when you push yourself to walk the talk and have the first 30 minutes of your day be the most productive for your brain, you will bring a level of conviction and authority and impact to the business that's not there currently.
Right.
You see, when you're an expert and you're a consultant, your power is limited to the extent that you personally feel like you're not using the tools. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
I say this for myself. I say this because when I think about businesses that I've had in the past, or when I was an executive coach, and I would be giving advice, but I'm not technically following it in the same regard, I'm not as powerful.
Right.
And so I would highly, highly, highly encourage you, starting tomorrow morning, you want to be the best productivity coach on the planet, that alarm goes off. Notice the gap.
Right.
Because the more that you start to play with this 5-second window and you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and you push yourself out of bed and you hate it. And then you take your cold shower and you hate it. And then you don't look at your phone and you hate it. And then you spend the first 30 minutes of the day pushing something forward and you hate it. But you do it. You will now be able to coach people who do the exact same thing. Understand that you can find people to support you. You will always find people to criticize you. Watch, though, how when somebody outside of you criticizes you, how that triggers the internal pattern. So what is the pattern that you have of thinking that gets triggered that disempowers you?
That I won't have any words.
You won't have any words. Let's go deeper than that. Is it something about being loved or being unworthy or not being good enough? What is underneath, I won't have the words?
Yeah, they won't be the right words and it won't be good enough, yeah.
Okay, and so do you have an opinion that you're not good enough or not deserving of success? Or that you're not smart enough to make a difference?
Yeah.
What is the one? What is the thing that hooks you? That you say to yourself?
That I'm stupid.
Okay, there we go. That's a good one. Not a good one, but you know what I mean. That's a good one.
Or
because,
I'm a piece of that's my big
Okay, I'm a piece of Now we're talking.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Who told you that?
I don't know who told me that.
When did you start believing that?
As a little girl, yeah. God, I've just been saying it for so long, I don't know.
That's okay. She said, I've been saying it for so long, I don't know. As you now know what you're looking for, you're going to start to connect the dots, okay? And so here's the thing. At some point, you started telling yourself, whatever, I'm a piece of as a strategy. You did it on purpose as a youngster, as a way to survive things that were happening. Because maybe when you said, well, I'm a piece of you actually got really quiet and you didn't get hit. Or maybe when you said that, you removed yourself from situations when you would have been abused or something. It worked because it protected you, as weird as it sounds.
Yeah.
Are you seeing something?
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
Well, yeah, my dad he wanted me to be quiet in the corner, being quiet, yeah. We couldn't make noise and cry.
And if you raised your voice, you got in trouble. So do you guys see the link now between why she has a concern about finding her words?
Oh yeah, I didn't get that one.
You see that now?
Yeah.
So every time that you are in a situation where you need to speak up, how many of you are relating to this, by the way? I have a theory about all of us, that we have patterns and strategies that we created when we were little in order to survive situations. And what she internalized was don't speak up, and you're a piece of shit if you do. And believe me, that protected your ass. It worked, because you didn't speak up and you didn't get in trouble with your dad.
Right, and I still got the love. So if I speak up now, I'm going to lose my dad's love.
Do you see this?
Yeah.
So this is a pattern that got written when she was little. And it was written by someone else, and it worked. It worked. The problem is now that you're...
Working now.
It's not working now.
It's not working now.
Not working now.
Can't
and
move
see,
forward.
exactly. And so this is what's fascinating about all this. There are places in your life where you have patterns that you don't even recognize, that were strategies that you developed when you were a kid. And so in the areas where you're really frustrated, that pattern is probably not present or conscious, something that you're aware of. And so every single time, because you've been repeating this and repeating it and repeating it, every single time you're about to hit play, every single time you're going to stand on a stage, what's going to be right there is don't speak up.
Freeze.
Yes, freeze. And you're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The only thing that actually overrides this pattern is to speak. And through speaking, you will see that you're not a piece of shit. You actually have something to say. Or you could make fun of it and say, well, I guess I'm just a piece of shit, something to say.
That's going to be my thing.
Yes.
I'm a piece of shit. I got something to say.
That's right. And I also like the strategy of kind of making the fun of the stuff, even the heavy stuff, because it loses its grip on me. It works for me. It may not work for you, but it's something to try. You're never, ever, ever, ever going to feel like doing the things you need to do in order to have what you want. You're always going to need to push yourself. You're always going to need to parent yourself. So what is the net advice on this? What is the bottom line? The bottom line is no one's coming. No one. No one's coming to push you. No one's coming to tell you to turn the TV off. No one's coming to tell you to get out the door and exercise. Nobody's coming to tell you to apply for that job that you've always dreamt about. Nobody's coming to write the business plan for you. It's up to you. And because you're only ever going to do the things that you feel like doing right now or that feel good right now, unless you understand that you've got to parent yourself, you got to push yourself, you're not going to make your dreams come true. You're just not. We're not wired that way. You weren't born that way. You weren't that way when you were growing up, and you're certainly not that way as an adult. And there's a tremendous amount of liberation that comes when you accept the fact that you're always going to need to give yourself a push. Well, I want to talk to those of you that are working toward your dreams. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, it's leading to the thing that you dream of doing. And you're not going to progress until you get the skills and the experience that you need at the level that you're at. I guarantee you, even if you're working at a front desk job at a local gym, you're learning customer service. You need to learn that kind of stuff before you can launch your own business. For me, in order to be an incredible speaker that can command a stage with 3,000 people in the audience for an entire hour, I first had to learn how to have the courage to speak up and have hard conversations in my life. Then I had to learn how to speak up in a small meeting. Then I had to learn how to speak up, in a church basement. Then I had to learn how to give a little bit of a talk at a brown bag luncheon. Then I had to learn how to stand on a slightly bigger stage. So if you're frustrated with where you are right now because you've got these big dreams and you think you're really far away, here's one way that you can continue to be patient and you can milk wherever you're at to help you build the skills and the experience that you need as you climb toward the thing that you want. Ask yourself, what is it that I am learning? What's the skill that I'm honing by sitting here at this front desk job or driving this Uber or Lyft vehicle? What am I learning that I'm going to take with me on my journey to do that next big thing? Because I guarantee you there's something in the minutia of what you're doing right now that you are developing an expertise and a skill around that you're going to need as you launch yourself towards the next thing. Okay, great. So here's what you're going to do. It's actually simple, but it's not going to be easy because you're going to create all kinds of excuses and drama for yourself, okay? You're going to set your alarm for 7. And when the alarm goes off, that's what happened. That gap is going to open up and you're going to feel all roll in. I don't feel like it. I'm hungover. I don't want to. I don't feel like writing a song anyway. That's when you have to take control. You have to take control. You have to get up every morning. It begins by getting up because if you let anxiety, excuses, self-doubt, all the Win in that first decision, the rest of the day is hijacked. So win the first decision. Then exercise. I don't care about the eating as much. I know it's important not to put garbage in, but I would rather see you first master getting up on time. Do that for a week. Then let's add in exercise every day. 10 minutes. Don't start with like 2 hours, because then you're going to find an excuse not to do it. Get up at 7, exercise for 10 minutes. Then the third week, you're going to add in like, I'm actually going to eat clean this week, or whatever the diet is that you want to eat, right? You're just going to add in things as you master the little things, but you got to get up on time. It starts right there, okay? You know, we all face problems in our lives. It's just part of being a human being. But have you ever considered that there are really only 2 kinds of problems that you're ever going to face? There are temporary problems, and then there are permanent problems that are more like conditions that you have to learn with. Now, a temporary problem is something that you have tremendous power to change. And permanent problems, though, are something that require a different skill, and that is the ability to just accept things as they are and let the complaining go. Now, one of the skills in life that is really going to help you become a great problem solver, and it's also going to give you more control over your life, is knowing what kind of problem you're actually dealing with. Because we all complain about our problems, but to actually solve a problem, you got to understand what kind of problem you're dealing with. The truth is, you can't change a permanent problem. So no matter how much you complain about it, how much you try to change it, how much energy you put into it, nothing's changing. It's a waste of your time and your energy to focus on those. Now, when you try to change a permanent problem, you know you are stuck because you feel like you're just spinning in circles. Temporary problems are what you want to focus your energy on. These are the decisions and the life choices that you keep making that might feel good in the moment, but they actually make you miserable. Now, here's the thing about temporary problems. They're not permanent. You may hate your body, but you can change it. You may hate and be unhappy in the relationship that you're in, but you can change it. You might complain a lot about how your boss treats you or how you feel passed over at work, but you can change how you interact with your boss, and you can change how you show up at work, and you can even change your job. That's the difference between a temporary and a permanent problem. Temporary problems you can change. Now, here's a simple exercise that I want you to do. I want you to make a list of all the things that you complain about. Maybe you complain about your commute, where you live, the person you're with, your health, your boss, the amount of money you have. Now I want you to look at every single complaint you have and ask yourself, what can I do to change this problem? What can I do to fix my relationship with your boss? Because you can't change your boss's personality, but you can definitely change how you interact with her. And when you change yourself and your own behaviors and how you think, you're going to change everything.
I've always been very scared and lack of confidence, and thought that I was never good enough, like some of my partners.
We've all bought into a lie. We've bought into a lie that confidence is belief in self. And so when you're in a situation which is normal, where you don't believe in yourself, you're like, oh my God, I have no confidence. The truth is, and I want you to walk out of here with a new definition of confidence. Confidence is the willingness to try. Because when you try and you take action, what happens, and what's happened for France, is that when she sees herself taking action, what happens is she sees herself being the kind of person that takes action. So she has evidence that she can rely on herself. And that action is what builds confidence. It doesn't start with belief. The real way for most of us is not to wait to believe, but to push ourselves to act. And through the action, you will build the belief. Let's pretend that this right here, this empty mason jar, is your brain. In order to do your best thinking, you need to make sure that you've got the full capacity of your brain leveraged and pointed at the things that are important to you. Here's the problem. When you go through life, what happens is, your brain starts to fill up with information, and that's what creates a state of feeling overwhelmed. Being overwhelmed is nothing more than having a full brain. So as you go through your day-to-day life and you start checking email and looking at texts and looking at Facebook and sitting in meetings and flipping through television channels and sending emails and writing Excel spreadsheets and running and picking up the kids at work and getting another text and looking at Instagram and looking at Twitter and checking out the news, your brain gets pretty full, doesn't it? And so when you feel overwhelmed, what I know about you is that your brain is full of a bunch of garbage. And so, I didn't think about the drain draining. I hope that's not bothering you, but it's certainly going to bother me. What you need to do in order to fight overwhelm is you've got to actually do a brain dump. You got to get rid of all that stuff so that you've got an empty brain so you can focus again. So how do you do that? It's easy to do with a cup of water because you just pour it out. This is what you're going to do. You are literally going to dump out everything that's in your head onto this piece of paper. Every concern, every worry, every to-do, everything that's bothering you, that you're thinking about, you're going to write down. All right, and when you're done writing down everything that's in your head and there's absolutely nothing left, got something due tomorrow that I kind of forgot about. Once you get that stuff all down on a piece of paper, pull out a highlighter. Take a look. You could do everything on this list. You could. But what should you do? What are 3 things, just 3, that you should do in order to advance the things that matter to you? Let's see. I got to do that one. I got to do that one. And I got to do that one. The rest of this list is complete and utter garbage. It's other people's stuff. It's the email stuff. It's the meeting stuff. It's the stuff that's not all that important to me. It's not that mission critical. So by dumping everything out, I now not only have the 3 things I need to do, I've got a clear head so I can get it done. If you're about to do something for the first time, chances are high that you might embarrass yourself. But what it means is if you're willing to be the kind of person that is willing to embarrass themselves, it means you're trying something new. It means you're going for it when everybody else sits on the sidelines. And so one of the things that I would encourage you to do is that when you feel that tingling, like you're starting to hold yourself back because you start thinking about what all your friends are thinking about, that's a moment to go, oh, this is what that lady was talking about. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm going for it. The thing that you guys also need to know is that I know that we parents harp on you in terms of how important your friends are, and we always say, oh, well, who cares what your friends think? The research shows that actually between now and the age of 25, your friends are the most important thing in your life in terms of defining who you are. And that also means that right now in your life, the fear of embarrassment, because you're trying to fit in, you're trying to find your squad, it's going to be bigger than ever. So if you can become the kind of person that's like, all right, here's the moment. Oh, I'm about to embarrass myself. Oh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm going. What you're going to find is your friends are going to start doing the same thing, and they're going to start to cheer for you because you're the one that they can count on to break the ice. You're the one that they can count on to go first. You're the one that they can count on to put his ideas out there. And it's like one of the coolest things that you could develop. You're not a procrastinator. You have a habit of procrastinating. Big difference. Because if it's a habit, I can teach you to use science to break it. You see, all habits have 3 parts. There's a trigger, and in the case of procrastination, the trigger is always stress. Then there's a pattern you repeat, and in the case of procrastination, it is to avoid doing something. And then there's a reward. You get a little stress relief. The only way to break a habit, you guys, is not to deal with the triggers. You're never going to get rid of the stress in your life, but you can 100% change your pattern of avoiding work. So next time that you're in a situation where you feel yourself hesitate, you spent way too much time checking out the highlights from last night's scores, what you're going to do is you're going to go, oh, I must be stressed out about something. Acknowledge the stress. Then go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I want you to count to yourself because I want you to interrupt the habit that's stored here, and I want you to awaken your prefrontal cortex. Then I want you to just work, just for 5 minutes. The reason why I want you to only work for 5 minutes is because your problem isn't working. It's the habit of avoiding. I just need you to start. And here's the other cool thing. We know based on research that if we can get you to start, 80% of you are going to keep going. If your friend is facing a problem, when you have to make decisions on behalf of your friend, You tend to think from multiple perspectives, you think about multiple outcomes, and ultimately you make a much better decision. What they found in research, though, is if they put you in the exact same situation, facing the exact same thing that your friend is, you're not able to be so objective because you're emotional, and you don't make that great a decision. What's the conclusion? Well, when you make decisions for other people, you're great. When we make decisions for ourselves, decisions that can be emotional, we're not so good at it. That's where the power of objectivity comes in. It's the ability to make a decision from a third party's perspective. Let me explain. So if you're facing a really important decision and you can feel yourself getting emotional, maybe you're thinking about asking for a raise or changing your career or changing your major or ending a relationship or starting a relationship, whatever it may be, if it's something that is emotional for you, you're going to have a hard time thinking about all the options, and you're going to be really attached emotionally because maybe you're concerned about the people who may be impacted by your decision. Maybe you're managing that somebody's going to be disappointed or hurt by what you need to do for you. This is when the power of objectivity is really important. Pick somebody that you really admire. I mean, it could be somebody like a Bill Gates or a Richard Branson or an Oprah Winfrey, or maybe you have a mentor. And stop yourself and ask, what would Oprah do in this situation? What would Richard Branson do in this situation? What would your mentor do in this situation? Bringing that level of third-party objectivity will yank you out of your body and your emotions, and it will help you give yourself the perspective that you need and the distance from your emotions so that you can actually assess your options and make the best decision for you. What would Mel do if Mel were making the decision, the best decision? You know, there's a really interesting example of somebody who did this in sports, and at the time, he actually got a lot of flack for it. It was LeBron James. Now, LeBron James, as you know, played for the Cleveland Cavaliers for a really, really long time, and he's arguably one of the best basketball players to ever hit the NBA. So he made this announcement that he was going to leave the Cleveland Cavaliers, where he had been playing forever, had rabid fans, and he was going to leave them and go to Miami.
Miami Heat. That was the conclusion you woke up with this morning.
That was the conclusion I woke up with this morning.
He was giving an interview to ESPN, and what he said was this. He said, LeBron James needs to do what's best for LeBron James. Now, people kind of laughed at him because it's a funny way to say the sentence, but this guy's really smart. He was leveraging the power of objectivity. Mel Robbins needs to learn how to do what's best for Mel Robbins, and you need to learn how to do what's best for you.
The thing that I'm stuck on is that I have a bazillion ideas about things that I can create and do and courses and trainings and la-di-da-di-da.
Who can relate?
And so actually moving from the idea and even creating the whole curriculum and all of that to actually making it happen.
Yeah.
And doing it.
So I have a cool strategy that I use, and I hope it works for you. So I carry a little notebook, and I actually borrowed this from Chris, because when we lived in New York City, he used to carry around a notebook like this size, and whenever he had an idea, he'd just jot it down, then he'd stick it in his back pocket, and it was just full of all kinds of stuff. So I carry around a notebook, and this one's new, so it doesn't really have much in it. As ideas come, I just jot it down in that notebook. And then what happens for me is I get anxiety because I'm afraid that I'm going to forget the idea. Then that anxiety makes me get distracted and unfocused and overwhelmed. And so I think if you were to have a little notebook on you at all times, and when those creative juices and those impulses go, that you jot them down, that's going to remove one layer of the overwhelm. If you have friends that make you wrong for changing your life for the better, that's their issue. It's not yours. And so you got to untangle the fact that they have baggage about getting in shape, or they have baggage about going to the bar that's theirs, and it has nothing to do with the decisions that you're making. So if your friends in general give you blowback for changing for the better, what you need to say in the back of your mind is, interesting. They're obviously very conflicted about their choice to go to the bar and drink every night, but that has nothing to do with me. Here's the other thing you can do. If they start to make you wrong, you can say, well, you want to go to Planet Fitness with me instead? It doesn't sound like you want to be at the bar. So that said, let me talk to you a little bit about friends. Friends are people that you care about. And I have this test, I call it the funeral test. If somebody in your life were to die, ask yourself, would I go to their funeral? If the answer is yes, they're a friend of yours. That's the test for whether or not, in my opinion, someone is a friend, because it means you care about them. Now, here's the other thing about friendship that I want you to understand. You can care about somebody and not like hanging out with them. And that's the situation that you're in right now. That you have plenty of friends that you care about. If they were to die, you would go to their funeral. If they needed you, you would be there. If you saw them, you'd be happy to see them, but you don't like to hang out with them. The other thing that I want you to think about is that, and that's okay, that's like a normal part of friendship. And the reason why that's a normal part of friendship is because one of the things that we know about life is that you're always going to be changing. In the old pattern and the old chapter, you had certain patterns, right? In the old chapter of your life, you would go to the bar and drink. You would go to the store and spend money you didn't have. You're in a new chapter now. And so you have different patterns. When your life takes on different patterns, whether it's you're no longer going to the bar, you're going to the gym, the pattern might even be that one of your kids is playing with a different soccer team, or maybe you've moved to a different street in your town. When the patterns change, so will your circle of friends. It's a fact of life. But that doesn't mean your old friends, the ones that you used to drink with, aren't friends anymore. It just means that you don't want to hang out with them. You still care about them, but you don't like doing what they do. The patterns have changed. For a long time, I had a lot of drama around this until I realized that it's not personal. It's not personal that you don't want to hang out with them. Patterns in your life have simply changed. The final thing that I want to leave you with that may also help you is that, remember, I've given you the funeral test. If you'd go to their funeral, they're definitely a friend. It means you care about them, but you might not like hanging out with them that much, and that's cool. That's normal. The other thing that I want you to think about when it comes to friendships is you can typically put friends into 3 buckets. You got friends for a reason, you got friends for a season, and you have friends for a lifetime. And one of the interesting things that I know about my own life is that as the patterns of my life change, so do the friends that I hang out with more frequently. And I also believe that as you change and the patterns in your life change, people show up in your life for a reason. The right people will show up when you start going to the gym. The right people that you need for the pattern that you're in right now will start showing up when you're working on your project instead of shopping. And it's exactly the kind of people that you need. They're there for a reason. And the friends of yours that are friends of yours for a lifetime, I bet you don't hang out with them that much at all anyway. But I bet they're the first person that you call when you need to talk to somebody about somebody important. Those are the friends for a lifetime. And those folks that are still sitting at the bar and love to blow money that they don't have, those were friends for a season. I think you should chase what energizes you. Everyone talks about passion, legacy, purpose, blah, 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 blah. The one word to pay attention to is energy.
I love that.
That's it. Let's simplify this.
Okay.
So whatever energizes you, naturally expands you, feels like possibility, is exciting to do. It may be scary. That doesn't matter. It has to do with how it makes you feel.
Right.
When you were in your 20s, money made you feel good. It expanded you. It energized you. Chasing the money, that was the game. That was your passion. That was your There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And I particularly want to say that to the women that are watching.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Because it is socialized into women not to chase success like that, not to go after the money. And so if what energizes you is amassing wealth, go for it. But and the reason why I say that is because people talk about the word passion or purpose.
Right.
And the truth is, it's not a person, place, or a thing. It's not. It is the feeling of being expanded and energized.
Right.
If you're pursuing your passion, it means that you wake up every day and are energized. So instead of trying to think, what's my purpose? What's my passion? What's my purpose? What's my passion? I don't know.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking like that, I want you instead to ask yourself, what could I do today that would energize me? What energizes me? If it's making money, figure out how to make money.
Right.
If it is making a difference, figure out how to make a difference. It could be in any single shape or form. But if it energizes you, that's what you need to follow. And what happens is that passion also, because it's energy, it dissipates over time. Because when you first start making money, it's thrilling.
Yeah.
Thrilling. There is nothing more exhilarating than making your first million.
Yeah.
Nothing more exhilarating. But what happens is once you learn how to do something once, you can do it over and over again. And so it starts to become routine, which means it's no longer energizing.
Right.
Which is why every entrepreneur out there goes through the mode of chasing the money, and then you hit the money that you need to make, and then you're like, I'm not fulfilled. What's my purpose? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I went through that.
I need to find the way. I did the. Everybody does.
Yeah.
And it's because you were energized by the money, and now you're not.
Yeah.
Now you got to be energized by the next thing.
Yeah.
It turns out that one of the best stress relievers on the planet is something that most of us don't ever do. And that is seek out time with friends when we feel totally stressed out. When you're doing twice as much work as you normally do, or you're feeling twice as much stress as you normally feel, studies at Harvard show that what you need is you need to see your friends twice as much. Now, Sean Anker is a really famous researcher and best-selling author at Harvard, and he studied this phenomenon. He looked at people that were stressed at schools and in call centers and in the military and in banks and in almost every single industry. What he discovered is that the most successful people, the people that were the best at selling, the people that were the most resilient, the people that had the best ability to deal with stress when times got tough were the ones that saw their friends the most. It was the people with the tightest social connections that had the ability to weather the storms that life throw at us. I want you to write down 3 people that when you hang out with them, you feel energized, that when you have plans with them, you're excited about seeing them. When this video ends, reach out to them. That's right, pick up the phone, send them a text. I want you to invite them to do something. Go out to lunch, go for a walk in the woods, get a cup of coffee, go out to dinner. Even if you're not stressed out, I guarantee you at least one of the 3 people that you're going to reach out to needs you.
If you want another amazing Mel Robbins video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
I think, you know how I have this habit? I have this habit of always high-fiving myself in the mirror. I send myself into the day, go get a Mel. That's a form of affection. You can show yourself love through words and through gifts.